Hey y'all, it's Janae Brian, and I am back with another video. Last week I sounded horrible. You know, honestly, this weather, like the weather changing and stuff like that, and my sinuses, like it was crazy. And I was just like, man, I was gonna get on here sounding like a man or whatever, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Like, let me, get better. I don't know, like, why when I press record on this camera, I just forget what I'm talking about or whatever. Well, what I'm supposed to be talking about. But today, today was crazy because I got some bad news today. One of my brother's close friends, which was a friend of mine as well, he passed away today. And you know, it's crazy because the last time I made a video, I was talking to y'all about how my uncle passed, and now this happened. But with all this happening, like within the past year and a half, I'm not gonna say death has been knocking on my door, but I feel like death has really been in the neighborhood, and well, in my neighborhood, and it's like every time someone dies, it's like I get to feeling like, it's this I could be over with like this. You know what I'm saying? Like it could end so quickly. Life could just be no more so quickly. And my grandmother passed away in 2024, and then a very close friend of mine, Zion, died in 24. And last year, 2025, I had two uncles that passed away. And you know how for years it's just like, you just hear about people dying or whatever like that, and nobody in your family's died, but you just hear about, or you see all these obituaries or whatever, you hear about this person dying, that person dying, and it just never really hits close to you. But within this past year and a half, it's really been hitting close to me. And I was watching Philip Anthony Mitchell, a sermon of his. He took it out of Matthew, the 25th chapter, and he was talking about the parable of the master who gave his servants money or whatever, and one of the servants buried his money or whatever, instead of using it to multiply or whatever. And basically that's like based like a parable for when God gives you gifts. And he said something. He said, I want to leave this earth empty. And because verse 29, Matthew chapter 25 verse 29 was a big verse, because it was saying, for the ones who have, they'll have more, and for the ones who don't have, the ones who don't do anything with their talents, that everything's just going to be taken away. And basically saying like God gives us all talents, and instead of burying our talents, we're supposed to use them. And the one that the guy that buried his talent, he only had one talent. He buried it. And when the master came back, he was just like, well, he buried the money or whatever. And when the master came back, he was just like, I would have been better off putting my money in the bank. At least I would have got a return on it or whatever. And so I don't want God to, look at me and be like, man, I gave you this gift and you didn't do nothing with it, And it's so crazy because the day after I watched that sermon, it was this young lady on TikTok, and God bless her, because it was so crazy, because this is just, it really hit home for me. She was just saying, how one day she was just like, because you know how you have something that you want to do, and you go out and you pray about it, whatever, you go out and you do it or whatever. And the thing about it is, she said, when God gives you that vision, or whatever he gives you, some people go out and try to plant a whole tree. And that's the thing. You're not supposed to, like, you're supposed to just start, you're supposed to plant that seed and let God, water it, like, and you'll grow eventually. You just don't grow a whole tree, overnight, or off the bat. And she was just saying how, she had so many things that she wanted to do or whatever. And she was just like, God, I'm not going to do another thing until you, tell me which direction to go or whatever. And God was basically saying, hey, do all of it. Plant all the seeds. And she said this, she was just like, a gardener don't just, plant one kind of seed, or just plant, at a certain season. Gardeners plant all year round different seeds, and you gotta sit back and you have to watch those seeds grow. And instead of trying to just do everything in just one big whop. And it really hit home for me or whatever, because it's just like, sometimes you just want stuff to be just boom, like perfect, without doing the groundwork, without, what I'm saying, really growing and pushing through that thing, and because when seeds grow, you got to be watered. Well, you got to be watered. They got to be watered, and they have to grow. They have to grow through the dirt. They have, especially like if they're growing outside, they may have different weather conditions that they have to grow through. But at the end of the day, they're growing. Sometimes, you won't know what you have until you really just start. And it don't have to be perfect. You just gotta start. You just gotta plant that seed. And which brings me back to, it's just like, I don't want to leave this earth empty. I really don't want to leave this earth empty. And that's why I was just like, I'm not waiting another day. I'm gonna get on here and talk to y'all. And I don't really have much to say, because I don't want to start crying on this camera, Lord. But I don't really have much to say. But that, you just gotta start. You gotta start somewhere, no matter what it looks like. And I don't want to be ungrateful, because God has blessed me with so many things. And and I want to start, no matter what it looks like. And so yeah, this is my video for today. And I know it's a big not cold front, big Arctic wave. Well, not Arctic wave. I don't know what this is. Winter storm. I know it's a big winter storm that's coming through. And so I hope everybody is preparing for that. I hope everybody stays warm and stays safe, and not be out here doing crazy stuff, not being out here on the roads, which where I live, I don't know, people still gonna be on the roads no matter what. Like, they folks don't care. But just be mindful. And yeah, I hope all is well, and I'll see y'all next week.